Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. Today we have Ben Sherman's first place deck list from Saturday's Wallasey Regional. So he played True Draco again, but this time the Inspector border is out of the main and into the side. So as per usual, we'll run through the deck, go over the matchups, and then Ben's not coming on to chat this time around, but we do have comments from him on how the deck performed. So we start off with double Amano Owato, 1 Ignis, double Maiden, and double Masterpiece. Pretty standard lineup. Triple Demise, triple Disciples, triple Diagram, triple Desires, triple Duality, triple Terraforming, triple Heritage, the 1 Upstart Goblin to slightly improve your consistency, and then 1 Anti-Spell, 1 Order, 1 Skill Drain, 1 Judgment, triple Erupt, triple Apocalypse, and 1 Return. For the side deck, triple Ash Blossom, double Inspector Border, triple Cyclone, 1 Raigeki, 1 Anti-Spell, double Dimensional Barrier, and triple Iron Wall. So for the rounds that Ben played, round 1 he went against Invoked and he won 2-0, winning the die roll. Round 2 against Gemini FTK, won the die roll again and won 2-1. Round 3 against Lightspawn, JY this time around, and he won 2-1, also winning the die roll. Round 4 against Dinosaur, he won 2-0, having lost the die roll. Round 5 he played against Pendulum, and he won 2-0, having lost the die roll. And round 6 he played against the Mirror Match, and he won 2-1, having lost the die roll. So the Amano Owato putting in work for all the games when he didn't manage to go first initially. But then, yeah, a very solid track record. I think it is just 50-50 with the die rolls there. Then I asked him a few questions on how the deck ran, as per usual, things that he liked about the deck, that sort of thing. So firstly, the monster count, he plays 7 monsters instead of the typical 8, sometimes we see 9. Wanted to know if it made any difference. He said there were 2 games where he lacked monsters entirely. In the first, his diagram got destroyed by an ogre, so he was unable to search, and he just managed to grind out the game until he drew a monster, so it wasn't really an issue. In the other game, he had an Ash, and he just set it. He also had an Apocalypse live, and his opponent was playing Dinosaur, so if his opponent had managed to bring out Ultimate Conductor, which is basically the biggest dinosaur that they can bring to the field, then he would have been able to half it with Apocalypse in order to make it 1750 attack, which just cannot push past an Ash Blossom, so he was fine in that regard. Then I asked him a little bit about Order in the main, does it clash with all of these spells? He said it's absolutely insane and won him the match versus Lightspawn. As opposed to clashing with the deck, he believes that it is perfectly justified, as with the amount of powerful draw cards that you have, there's a very high chance to get to a position where you have Maiden on board with Order, and then Maiden will search a monster during your opponent's turn, which you add to your hand, and then during your next turn you summon it over the Order, so you free up your spells whilst denying your opponent any spells during their own turn. Last time we saw Ben playing this deck, he had Inspector Border in the main, as I mentioned, and he switched it out for Amano Owato. He said that Border would come in against most matchups where he went first that weren't Pendulum or the Mirror Match, because in those, obviously, it doesn't make too much of a difference. You just pot this with any of the traps in the Mirror Match, and then if you go up against Pendulum, then they'll often just make a board with multiple different types of monster or something, or just be able to out it anyway, so with the Pendulum monster. Then I asked him, so he's playing the 1 Raigeki in the side, but no other board wipes to deal with things. He said you don't really need board wipes, as the deck has ways, built-in ways to break boards, such as the trap lineup that you have. But Raigeki is too powerful a card not to at least consider, and if you have an Amano or a Border, then it's really strong if your opponent wants to start using Grave Effects, because you just bring up Border or Amano, resolve Raigeki, and suddenly they have nothing live, which is really solid. I then asked what his hardest matchups were. Overall, he said there weren't really any hard rounds, but he'd say that the first game versus Pendulum, where his opponent made a full board and he only saw Draco cards throughout the entire game, meant that he didn't see, he didn't see any draw cards, any floodgates, or any of Amano Owato. However, he did win that game, and it just shows that his core engine beats Pendulum overall. He may not have broken the board during that turn, but it was enough that he could push through a couple of monsters and then not die the next turn with an Apocalypse set to make all of his opponent's monsters half their attack, and to be able to keep removing stuff during the next turn. Things he liked about the deck: it can play all of the most broken spells in the game and not be hurt by them. Also, you're pretty much just doing what you would do on your turn 1 every single game, and all of the spells and traps that the deck has give you some level of advantage. Another thing to note is he feels it's one of the few decks where the mirror match is actually skillful, and it's not just die roll dependent, assuming both players open like a semi-reasonable hand. Obviously, if someone opens a really broken hand, then you just steal it from that. Then for shoutouts, Ben wanted to shout out to Alfie Morton for continuing the decimation of the regionals. He said he believed that he's top forward original every week for the past 4 weeks. Certainly on the channel we've had 3 top decks come in from him, so certainly 3 weeks, possibly 4. Then also shoutouts to their driver, Alex7. Shoutouts to Calum for bubbling once again. And finally, shoutouts to the Card Den and the Gamers Room for hosting a great event, even though it was their first regional. So yeah, fantastic job, Ben. Really excited to see you come back and take first place with this deck. Good to see the Amano in the main. As you said, yes, it does help you out going second, so certainly worth considering. And overall, a very nicely structured deck. And good to see that the 7 monsters didn't become too much of an issue for you as well. So thanks for watching this video. If you got any comments on this deck list, check them down in the comment section down below. And good luck, Ben, in your next event. Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.